All right. Josh Strife Hayes might have the long lost answer to what went wrong with gaming. Bro, what didn't go wrong with gaming? When gaming became a business instead of like something fun people created. And it was always a business, it was made to make money, but before it became like a corporate machine, before it became like straight up, well, when the marketing team controls the development rather than the development controls the marketing, you know, the whole like Steve Jobs speech, that's when everything went to shit. But yeah, I forgot to mention or blame all the streamers or influencers who basically get paid for luring vulnerable viewers into this abusive monetization or gambling systems by streaming them. And they're just part of the machine. But yeah, let's see what Josh has to say.
I love video games. They've been my main hobby for most of my life, and now I make videos about video games, which is great. But recently I've been analysing new games and critiquing new systems, and I've noticed a slow but insidious trend toward games becoming more and more monetized, but not fairly monetized. Anti-player monetized. It's the feeling you get when you look at a battle pass in a game you've already paid full price for. It's the tiny slither of sadness when a game you want has different exclusive levels for different consoles, and you'll know you'll never get to experience every part of that game now. It's that cosmetic you want, costing 1,005 gems, but the gems are sold in packs of 1,004.
That's been there for a while.
The microtransactions from FIFA Ultimate Team
Elden Ring doesn't have that.
More money than Elden Ring's entire sale run. It's the unfortunate reality of gaming after the marketing executives took over. And it's hard to explain exactly how or when it changed, but explaining things is what I do. So let's go back to the start of gaming and work out when this whole mess started. And then I'll actually pinpoint the exact thing, the specific design choice which makes new games feel wrong. Welcome, I'm Josh Strife Hayes. Let's work out what the hell went wrong with the monetization of gaming.
What a cute picture.
As usual, a massive thank you to all the supporters on Patreon, Twitch, and YouTube who keep the channel alive.
Liz gets bigger.
Information on how you can support at the end. For now, let's begin. Let's go back to the 1980s and early 1990s. The video game revolution was kicking off.
Hell yeah, bro.
Weren't yet mainstream, so we went to arcades. You put your money
in. I loved this game so much. It was so much fucking fun. And I was always, I was either Leonardo or, Raphael? Leonardo, Donatello, Michelangelo. Yeah, Raphael, right? I think that's what it was called, yeah. I was always either one of these two.
Game, effectively making arcades the socially accepted pay-to-play model. There's no denying arcades were bloody expensive. I remember dropping way more than I should have done to complete Time Crisis, but while this was expensive, there was a very simple relationship between the game, the money, and the player. Pay money, get access to the whole game. Victory depends on your skill. Game designers knew it was a simple transaction, and they knew someone would simply play as long as they were able to, so they had to make the game hard so you would die more, and so pay more. This is why the Turtles game had that underwater bit. It's why House of the Dead were
fuck that level.
It's why Ghosts and Goblins was everything that Ghosts and Goblins is. In the early days of home consoles, when people would rent games, we even called difficult levels blockbuster levels, designed to make the rental period longer and so you'd have to keep renewing it. So why don't these money-hungry games make us feel the same way as modern money-hungry games? Well, it's because the trade of money for game was simple, and there was nothing insidious about the transaction itself. You knew what you were giving, and you knew what you were getting. And if you were to break down the design time of a game into a pie chart at that point, it might look something like this. Story, graphics, narrative connections between them, mechanics, marketing, playtesting, and then how much a go at the arcade costs. There was a lot going on in the development of a game at these times, but it's all focused on making a game good, because at that time, good games make the most money. When a company discovered a successful game, they couldn't just augment the original with downloadable content or extra levels, because that technology didn't exist yet. They'd have to make a complete sequel, and so gamers got more games. Jump forward to the mid-1990s, the home console market had taken off. You buy a console...
Pretty sure I played this. Raymond? I think that's what the game's called, Raymond.
You buy a game and then you play that game. Now, the whole lives mechanic in games at this time was a holdover from the arcade design space and wasn't actually needed in home consoles because you didn't need the player to put more money in. Dying when...
Yeah, but it was an easy transfer, I'm assuming. Yeah. I didn't like the life mechanic when I was a kid. It made me tilt so hard at Mario, like the original Mario, with the, you know, the one that has speed run of like a minute 30 or something, 6 minutes or something that I don't remember. But yeah, that one made me tilt because I would, and I didn't know about like all the skips at first, right? So it's like I would get to like the 6th level after like hours of fucking trying, then you die and you have to start over because it's your last life. I really hated that as a kid, man. I broke my Mega Sun so many times that we had to buy a new one.
When you have 3 lives, then restarting from your last save, or just dying and restarting from the save anyway with no arbitrary life limit, was functionally the same thing, but design moves slowly. Away from the arcade model, you no longer paid per play, and you now paid per game, and you then played as much as you wanted. Games were expensive, of course, but when you bought a game, it was complete. If it shipped with bugs, it would just have bugs forever. If it shipped with secret unlockable stuff, it would have that forever. When you owned the game, you owned the ability to play as much as you want of the complete experience. And this was a very simple and fair transaction. While the arcade was, here's a game, pay us to have a go, the console was, here's a game, pay us to keep it and play it whenever. But the home gaming scene wasn't just consoles, it was also PCs. Now, back then PC gaming wasn't as mainstream as it is today, but it did come with one major advantage. Because the PC held a load of data files on its hard drive instead of just reading them from the disk or cart like a console, developers could create additional content for a game and sell that. Like the incredible RPG Baldur's Gate, releasing in 1998, and then the multi-hour-long expansion Tales.
I've still to this day not played any Baldur's Gate game. It's crazy, I know. I call myself a gamer, but I haven't even played Baldur's Gate. It's fucked up.
Of the Sword Coast in 1999. This was a time in gaming where developers could develop additional content, but when they did, it was usually a lot.
I just never liked these pause combat, give orders type of games. It was never really my thing. I don't know, I just didn't like it.
PC games saw expansion after expansion, Morrowind seeing the Tribunal and Blood Moon expansions, Diablo 2, then the Lord of Destruction expansion, and all the extra modules for Neverwinter Nights.
Hey, forgot Diablo 1 expansions. I think there were like 2.
This was additional content for a game without being a sequel, but again, gamers didn't hate this because the transaction was very simple to understand and it felt fair. You gave them money, you got an experience designed to be the most fun it could possibly be. The biggest
chance on missing a target that is not moving, in my opinion, in video games was one of the dumbest fucking decisions. If a target is stunned or is asleep or anything like that, how the fuck do you miss? How incompetent are you with a weapon that you miss a target that is literally not moving and you know it's not going to move? I understand if like the target is not moving but it has a chance to move, like it can dodge, then it's like, okay, I can understand you trying to predict maybe the aim so like it dodges in the direction where you're shooting, sure. But the target is like, it's asleep. It is stunned. It cannot move. How are you missing? I feel like that guy was like the dumbest design in fucking RPGs. Like mischance on like targets that can move.
Difference in this era is there's no trickery. You're not being manipulated. It's just a straight up understandable product. If we again take the idea of breaking down game development time into a pie chart, you've probably got a few new bits to the pie by now. Magazine adverts and articles, some TV ads, and the arcade price replaced with a box price. But it is still mostly make a good game and you will make good money. Then in 2004, online gaming really started to kick off with World of Warcraft being released.
What? Look at him.
Then into
young Josh Hayes, man. Young Mr. Hayes. This is... How old is this? There's no way. There's no way he made this in 2004, right? There's no way. No, this is like... This is probably... classic. This is like a few years back. There's no way this is like 20 years ago. I'm so confused.
To kick off with World of Warcraft being released, but Blizzard aren't the bad guys in this story, at least not yet.
Not yet.
Now we need to look to the east.
Not in 2004.
An online game from Korea called Maple Story. Now
in 2004, 2004 was the last time Blizzard made good games. Up until Wrath-ish. Okay, Mid-Wrath is when everything started shifting, and then Activision took over, and that's when it started going to shit. I'm not saying Activision ruined the game. Blizzard already had hints of bad design choices. I mean, for the time it was okay, but like you can see it like in retrospect, it's like these are bad design choices. Multiple attunements needed, like on different characters and all that stuff. These are not good choices, right? Classes not being balanced, not good choices, right? But the standard then was so much lower than the standard now. Stuff that they did back then, if they make it today, I mean, they did make stuff like that today. People didn't like it, okay? All the artifact power systems, bro. Consider artifact power systems as attunements, okay? That's basically what it was. Yeah, people were not happy with that.
Japan, the small toy capsules gachapon had been popular for years. You put money into a gachapon machine and get a random toy of varying rarity. These systems appeal to people who like collecting things and people who like random chance or mystery. It's basically gambling on a rather inconsequential level, but the psychology behind it is very, very powerful. So MapleStory introduced an in-game gachapon style system. 100 yen got you a ticket for a random in-game item, and many people consider this to be the first example of a random loot box. But more importantly, this was the first moment in mainstream video games where you could pay money and not know what you were getting. You were no longer...
Was this the first one? I felt like, wasn't FIFA the first one? Like, because I remember EA was the first scumbags to do this, but maybe like Eastern games had it before and EA stole from them.
Longer paying for the game or for an established product, you were paying for the mystery, the ephemeral moment of what if between purchase and eventual prize. And this system made a lot of money. Because MapleStory was online, and other people could see what you won. So it was no longer about having the game and enjoying the game. It was now about a sense of community and prestige when you have something somebody else doesn't.
And funny enough, this is exactly what Mythic Plus feels right now. Right? There's a lot. It's like Mythic Plus right now is a fucking is a loot crate, a loot box. Okay, that's literally what Mythic Plus is. You're doing work, sure, whatever. You're not just rolling the dice, but you are rolling the dice because at the end of the dungeon, you either get nothing or you get something that a lot of times you don't even need. It's because like you usually do, if you grind a specific Mythic Plus, you're usually trying to get a specific item, right? If you're just doing a specific Mythic Plus. So yeah, right now, like Blizzard is and again, it's not for real money, it is for gameplay, sure, but it's like I hate RNG. Like maybe I'm like anti-gambling as a whole, I don't even know, because I don't really like gambling, but I hate this concept that's happening in WoW. That's like there's no guarantee for loot. You can run this dungeon one time and get it, you can run this dungeon 100 times and still not get it. There's just no guarantee.
You make your game multiplayer, competition amongst players becomes a thing, and there are a subset of players who enjoy being seen as the person.
Oh, and speaking of competition amongst players, even single players are not exempt from being competition amongst players at this point. Even single players, because of Twitch and because people are streaming their games and people are making guides and people are making all of this, nothing is devoid of competition between other players. You're always aware. You can always find people that are doing what you're doing, but better.
Person with the best stuff. And unlike real gachapon machines, which were either a physical distance to travel to or had a queue by them or sometimes just sold out, virtual gachapon tickets were unlimited, entirely within the company's control and could be bought constantly. MapleStory already had the in-game items made, so they were selling the excitement of chance, and they were tapping into the collector and completionist mentality of many hardcore gamers. So game developers began to see they didn't actually need to sell a gaming experience anymore. They could instead sell the small adrenaline spike of potential. This was a turning point. A moment investors realized it was completely worthwhile to dedicate at least some game development time, not to the game itself, but to systems within the game designed simply to extract money from the player after they had started playing, but without giving them a complete new game. This is the first part of the puzzle for where we are today. So let's put this idea of sell random chance into a little box. A box of all the design tricks which don't favor the player, or make the game necessarily any better. A box of design tricks which don't make you think, oh my god, this is amazing, I need to tell all my friends, but instead use the game as a simple vehicle for additional monetization. Now, the techniques in this box are not games themselves. They cannot exist on their own. They aren't symbiotic with a game because they don't enhance each other. They are parasitic because they need the game to survive but don't necessarily improve it. We'll call this box Abusive Monetization Strategies, or
nice.
title Pandora's Box of Bad Design. The main danger of this box is, if we were to take the pie chart of game development time now, knowing that this box exists and knowing the techniques inside it can make a decent amount of money, the finance people know they need to find space for the techniques within this box somewhere on the pie chart, which means something else must lose out. Jump forward 2 years to 2006. The Western gaming market hasn't yet discovered the mass appeal and psychological dominance that loot boxes have, but they have discovered something just as important.
My god.
Gamers will pay money to look different. And it all kicks off with this stupid horse. Now, I've made a complete video on the history of this horse, but the short story is The Elder Scrolls Oblivion was a great game with some great DLC, Knights of the Nine and the Shivering Isles. But you can also pay a few dollars to give your horse armor. Now, it's important to understand this is completely cosmetic. It doesn't actually make your horse any better in combat or defend it, but you can buy it. And people did. In fact, a lot of people bought it, and this highlighted another thing. Making a game takes a long time, but once the main game is made, the development time it would take to make a cosmetic for that game is relatively short. And that cosmetic can be sold for a small amount of money, but it can be sold many, many times. The cost is micro, but the sales volume is high. Hence, microtransaction. Separate from the idea of a complete expansion, which would expand a game and make the game experience bigger, a microtransaction adds hardly anything beyond the original experience. It's almost inconsequential, but it's not free. So now developers know expansions are a bit risky, but microtransactions are very...
Not how it is now. $20 for a transmog in fucking World of Warcraft? Are you fucking serious? Or is it 15? I don't know, but for real? It's like, what the fuck are these prices, bro? $32, well, Canadian again. 32 Canadian dollars for a fucking mount. Are you fucking kidding me, bro? Like, the mount doesn't even do anything special.
Safe and very small. Even if they don't
Such
sell,
a joke.
it's not a great waste of developer time. So the focus shifted away from selling a main game with lots of expansions to selling the main game and then lots and lots and lots and lots of small additional things. The problem with this is now developers had a vested interest in keeping the coolest cosmetics or the most fun little things out of the base game and
here's the thing, even if they didn't have it, the players would always feel like they did have that that intention, right? It's like it's the same as like selling XP boosts, like XP potions or something like that to make XP faster in like something like Arcade. Did they plan the game specifically so you would need the XP boost, or is the game planned out normally, like it's fine, but the XP boost is like kind of something you can use for alts to like skip some story and shit like that? Usually the player would think this was made specifically to be annoying, so I would have to spend money. Even if that would not be the case, people would still think that.
Instead, releasing them as additional microtransactions, which is something we'll see happen more and more. And this absolutely does not favour the player, because it leads to an experience where you as a player, even though you have bought the game, when you sit down to play it, you do not feel like you have access to the whole game, because you don't. It used to be you bought a game and got a game. Now it's you buy a game and you get the main framework, which you need to pay more to flesh out.
Fair enough.
Let's add sell small additions to your game as microtransactions to the box of abusive...
It's like you bought the PC, but you forgot the graphics card. So now you have to spend extra money for the graphics card in order for it to run better. You know?
Monetization strategies. And as the box grows, so does the space it would need to take up on the game development pie. Now we head into 2009 to the rise of Facebook and one of the cornerstones of casual gaming and monetization progression.
Oh god.
Farmville was
I remember
everywhere
this.
in the late 2000s, made by Zynga, and these guys were masters because Facebook was everywhere. Everyone was...
My mom one time asked me about this. She got Facebook in like 2012 and she found out about Farmville, which is like a bit late to find out about it, but whatever. And I was like, I told her, you don't want to play this. She's like, well, why? It looks interesting. I was like, you don't want to play this. Just no. It's like you will just be incentivized to spend a lot of money. She's like, oh, okay, never mind. It's like, what do you do in this game? It's like, I don't know. You plant fucking flowers and they grow very slowly, but if you pay real money, they grow faster. It's like, oh, okay. And I have no idea. I never played it. I feel like that's always what it was, and I was like, I just avoided it like the plague.
On it, and even non-gamers were gaming, which sounds great, but they were burning through the game too quickly. They were enjoying it and then just moving on, which was not great because Facebook is all about retention. So Farmville did something really counterintuitive to increase player retention. They gave you daily energy, so you couldn't progress more than a certain amount every day. Now, these games were mostly played by people on phones and laptops, and people got bored pretty quickly. And one of the best ways to prevent boredom is to limit your time with something. Absence makes the heart grow fonder, as they say. So energy systems limiting what actions you could take, or timers connected to growing your crops or building things and you couldn't progress them quicker. By making the player progress only in short but intense bursts and then wait for their next fix of game, you either force them to pay more money to gain more energy or to skip the timers, or you make them return tomorrow. And this is game design focused on the formation of daily habits. The psychological power...
it kind of sounds like World of Warcraft if you think about it. Daily habits, daily quests, now World Quests don't reset every day. They reset like 3.5 days, like half a week. But yeah, a lot of stuff there is very, very daily or weekly, you know.
Of the habit has been studied for years. Motivational speakers talk about them, self-help books push them, and now gaming companies were looking to use them as a way to turn players into users. Because it wasn't just about the game being fun anymore. The focus wasn't on giving the player the best experience.
Players into payers. I mean, technically, like a lot of people already made this exact video in different formats. Again, it's nice to hear more. Honestly, we need more of these, even though they're saying the same exact thing. We need more of these messages out there so people will understand why the game sucks. So people understand, for example, people don't understand why I have such a problem with World of Warcraft right now, even though I made a whole video explaining why I'm quitting, or like on the 4th week, why I'm quitting Dragonflight. Okay, because even though the game is not monetized for that, the design philosophy is still there. The design philosophy of still running the same content over and over, and like you cannot guarantee loot. Like you have to fucking work at this game in order to get what you want. It's like I'm not playing a game anymore. I'm just running a treadmill. And a lot of these games will do that, right? It's like, what's the best way to farm honor? Honestly, log in daily. Do the daily BG, daily arena win, daily shuffle win, daily this win, and within 3 or 4 days you pretty much cap your honor and cap your conquest. So why would I bother staying on for longer? And this translates to me resubbing because I couldn't grind out shit. Everything is time gated by weeks, right? So I have to like keep my sub, like resub to the game in order to fucking play the game the way the devs want me to play it. I want to play the game at my pace, but the devs don't let you. And this is the same thing. The game won't let you play at your own pace because they want you to play in short bursts.
You could give them and letting the player enjoy it at their own pace. The focus was about the game being effective at encouraging a specific behavior response from the user. Encouraging the user to return day after day is habit forming. Someone who plays your game habitually is more likely to remain playing even after the game itself has stopped being enjoyable. They're just continuing the habit. Along with this, game designers knew you would also
that's exactly... Oh man, this is so true. Like I said in that video, I did not enjoy WoW since it launched. Like basically 3.5 weeks of just grinding, but I don't remember any one time that I was like, oh, this is fun. Not one time. When Mythic Plus started, I didn't have fun. I just legit do not have fun with WoW. It is just not a fun game. It always feels like a chore.
Friends on Facebook that may not be playing the game, and they wanted those friends to play the game, which is why they put the mechanics in the game of share this achievement with your friends to get bonuses and get boosts.
Bro, the funniest thing with the share thing, I never share these things. I'm actually embarrassed to share these. It's like I feel like an idiot for playing some stuff, and I was like, yeah, I'm not sharing this shit, right? It's like you get some games do it automatically and they share like on the world that you got something. Like I used to play this War Tune game, and when you get something out of a loot box, it would share. It's like, oh, he just got this legendary mount or whatever, right? And that actually hyped other people. But whenever I played, which one was it? I believe Raid Shadow Legends has it. Wild Rift has it too, where you just get a certain, like you get an S in Wild Rift. It's like, share with your friends on Twitter and Facebook. Bro, I'm not sharing shit. Are you kidding me? It's like, fuck no.
People began playing Facebook games not because they thought they would be the type
It's
of
like, it's like, I would probably sooner share something from Pornhub than I would share something in game. It's like, why is there a share button on Pornhub? So dumb.
they enjoy, but because they were doing their friend a favor by starting up. They were supporting their farm. They were joining their mafia. And just like MapleStory's gacha being viewed by the players in the game, you could share the progress of your farm. You could show off how far along you were, which spurred competition. So we can add limiting progression per day and encouraging you to invite your friends to start the game to give yourself advantages, or the ability to share your progression with the community, which is why achievements on almost all consoles and PCs are publicly viewable. Into the box of abusive monetization strategies. And while habitually playing something isn't generating money in itself, it does keep the audience around longer so they can be exposed to other, more successful strategies. Now, some people will point out that paying to advance more or paying to skip timers is in some ways similar to the old arcade process of dying and then putting more coins in to continue. And it is similar, but there is a crucial difference. With an arcade game, you could, in theory, finish the game entirely on skill. These timers and energy bars in games such as
take your control out of it.
Ever be finished on skill alone, because you will hit a wall that you will need.
This is the difference, where it's like, yes, you can fail at the arcade game, but you're playing it at your own pace. The game doesn't prevent you from putting the money in it and replaying it and trying it again. This game, even with monetization to an extent, will still prevent you from certain things, or it just makes you pay way more, right? A lot of the games also in arcade, it's like you die and you have like 30 seconds to put in a coin to continue. I believe you can only do it once or twice. Eventually you will have to restart the game. So it's like, it doesn't even like fix the actual issue, it just prolongs it in a sense, but they are very similar. But at the same time, this game just prevents you from playing it at your own pace completely. The other one, you can still play. And also, like, the price difference is fucked up. But yeah.
Or pay to remove. But this wasn't everything. Nowhere near. Farmville had other strategies. You had timers and you could pay to make them progress faster, but not with money directly. Now you had to convert real money into a proprietary currency. In this case, farm bucks. And this is one of the most prevalent designs we still see used, because it does several psychological things.
And I believe you can also earn them in-game to an extent, and then it's like, well, I'm only missing like 10, but then you can't buy 10, you can only buy them 25 at a time. So I might as well buy the 25 at a time, right?
Disgustingly well. If you can buy something directly from a game, you can see the cost in a currency that you understand. But if the game displays items in their own proprietary currency, such as gems or coins or platinum or farm bucks or whatever they want to call it, you have to make one mental step converting the currency from what you understand to what you don't understand. So all these things are now one mental step away.
Diablo Immortal comes to mind. Okay, I'm gonna stop pausing, and like I'm pausing like crazy. Diablo Immortal with like its multiple currencies inside of other currencies inside of other currencies, and you don't even know how much something costs until you do like some insane fucking algebra. Yeah, basically.
From having real value, and that is hugely important, because even one step is further than most people are willing to go. So let's add that into the box. Proprietary in-game premium currency to obscure real-world value by a single step. Bonus points if it makes you convert the currency to multiple other in-game currencies, which is almost completely impossible to track in your own mind. So you need to buy the currency, and this is the next trick. The currency is usually sold in packs, and these packs are specifically sized to either be just under what you actually need or very, very close to the next best thing, making you consider the next pack up. For example, if you need 100 gems to buy something in the game and gem packs are sold in packs of 90 or 205, you may as well buy the 205 pack. But then there's a really good item in the game for 210 and you're only 5 gems short. but the next pack contains 500 gems. But there's a mega item for 505 gems, and you're only 5 gems shy of that now. You're not thinking about the number 505, you're thinking it's only 5 and then only another 5. Much smaller jumps for much higher jumps in value. You'd be a fool if you didn't take them, right? So that's going in the box of bad design. But let's say you do buy a pack. Whatever pack you buy, you will spend your unique in-game proprietary currency, but then you'll discover something else. The currency is non-refundable, and it is almost impossible to spend all of it. You'll always be left with some random number, like 4 gems or 2 bits of platinum. It's never 0. And this will bother you, because in your mind, that's a waste, and you don't like waste. And if you don't spend that currency, then the game is keeping it, and you've paid for that. But the only way to make this useful is to buy another currency pack. I mean, you'd be a fool if you didn't do that, right? You can't have premium currency just sitting there in strange, unspendable amounts. It's annoying, and it's by design. So add that to the box. But maybe you know all this, and you're not a fool. You won't spend a lot, you'll wait for a sale, but oh look, you're a brand new player and there's an offer. A load of
800% Diablo Immortal, I love it.
Limited time offer, and it's all for the low price of just under $1. Now, you'd definitely be a fool if you didn't buy this.
Technically.
If you've ever wondered why the intro packs to almost any game are such good value, it's because studies have shown people who buy a single purchase are much more likely to make another purchase. So you want to make the first purchase really enticing. And it's because some phones need you to authorize in-app purchases. But once you have authorized one, it will not double-check for any extra purchases. So you confirm that you want to buy the cheap pack, and then it doesn't double-check for the expensive packs, because every screen between the player and a purchase is a moment they could doubt and reconsider. So you want to get those, "Are you sure you want to purchase this?" checks agreed with and out the way early. Unusually cheap intro microtransactions just to get you into a habit. Let's add that to the box. And while the box is looking pretty anti-player and anti-consumer so far, it's nowhere near full. To truly see how effective this ugly design can be, we only need to go forward 1 year to 2010 and look at FIFA's Ultimate Team.
There we go.
Now, I'm not really into football games, but the FIFA franchise of games actually highlights the game design shift really well. It shows how games have moved from being a fun experience by themselves to a fun enough framework that
I thought that was like the FIFA Manager game, to be honest, with the cards and shit that really got this ship going. Could be wrong.
Will cling to like limpets. In FIFA, you can buy loot boxes, which contain random cards of players, and use these to build up your ultimate team. The Ultimate Team mode takes several of the box ideas and combines them, and now the Ultimate Team mode makes more money than the box sales of FIFA itself. In fact, since 2018, FIFA Ultimate Team has generated over $1 billion in revenue per year for EA. In 2021, they made $1.6 billion. And it happens every single year. And the cards you buy in the Ultimate Team for 1 year cannot be used in the next year. Meaning the microtransactions now have a shelf life.
And this is why I also hate shooters and shit like that. It's like a bunch of my friends just love shooters and they always play the newest shooter that comes out, COD, Battlefield and all that stuff. And I was like, why are you buying this new game? It's on like a year or 2 years older than the previous one, and it's almost the same fucking physics, it's almost the same fucking thing, but it's like, but it's the newest thing. I gotta unlock all of these guns, but it's like, why do you need to unlock all of these guns? It's the same fucking guns that you already have unlocked on other games. It's like, why are you wasting your time and money? It's like, it's so crazy to me. And this is exactly it. They just make the same game, slightly add graphics, change maybe the maps, and voila, it's like an easy fucking debate, It's like, money. It's free money. It's literally like the gaming industry, a lot of it is just free money. There's nothing interesting designed in most of them. FIFA, in my opinion, stopped innovating its gameplay, and what can you really innovate? Since basically like maybe 2011. It's the same fucking game. NFL is the same. NHL is the same. It's like you just change some player names and that's it based on like who's playing. But it's the same fucking game every time.
Horse armor may last forever, but what if it didn't? What if you could make a player pay for it again and again every year? Let's add that to the box. Yearly repeating microtransactions. Now, as a developer, you'd look at this box, and think, wow, selling my game isn't the profitable thing anymore.
Not worth it.
What I can sell within the game. By now, the box of abusive monetization strategies is so big, it's almost impossible to ignore if you are making a game. 1 year later, in 2011, the
So bad.
MMORPG RuneScape is suffering. They had a major update to the combat system, which a huge majority of the player base hated, and this made them lose a lot of players. This is a mistake worthy of its own video, but the bottom line is, they are a monthly subscription game losing subscribing players, and they need to find a way to either recover paying members or to stem the tide of people leaving. Enter the loyalty program. Every month of membership, you now earn loyalty points, and you earn more for every consecutive month that you remain subscribed. And then you can spend loyalty points on cool exclusive
I don't know how people still play
cosmetics or
this.
mechanically powerful auras and boosts. So now, cancelling your membership wasn't just a case of thinking, I'm not enjoying the game, so I won't pay, which is a very simple, understandable, fair transaction. It's now a case of thinking, I'm not enjoying the game, but if I unsubscribe, I break my loyalty streak and will earn far fewer loyalty points over the long run, which will put me at a disadvantage if I ever do want to come back in the future, which is not
A great trap.
fair. The transaction used to be simple, but now we're putting the player in the position of give money even if you don't want to play because you don't want to break a habit. That's going in the box. And by now, the box is demanding a bigger and bigger slice of the game design pie chart. 2 years later, 2013 sees the release of Dead Space 3, the third installment in a terrific horror trilogy. Well, sort of. While Dead Space 1 and 2 were indeed terrific horror games with tension and pacing and balanced gameplay and great stories, Dead Space 3 did something strange.
Yeah, wasn't it a weird
the idea
game?
of you being a lone engineer trapped on an infested spaceship, struggling against incredible odds, using only your small collection of mining tools and very limited ammunition to survive, and it added in the ability to let you buy in-game guns with real cash from...
What's that Half-Life? This is like Half-Life version of Dead Space, basically.
the cash shop. A horror survival game selling you in-game guns and ammo.
In-game survival.
Defeating the atmosphere and vibe the game was going for. Selling players things they could use within your game to make the game easier. Let's add that to the box. That's effectively selling power. This one manages to out-monetize even the arcade. It would be like putting more coins into Time Crisis and getting a rocket launcher, or removing the time limit in Crazy Taxi.
Luigi in a car?
It defeats the purpose of the original game. Along with Dead Space selling guns, we now see the MOBA game Dota 2 release what many consider the first major Battle Pass system. Now, when this craze started, I remember walking into gaming shops and seeing the phrase Battle Pass everywhere, and I had no idea what they were. Effectively, they are optional purchases which unlock a series of challenges or processes you can go through to unlock more stuff in the game, but they are time sensitive. So you buy the monthly battle pass, and if you play a certain number of hours or kill a certain number of enemies or achieve a certain number of whatever it wants you to do, you can advance along the battle pass and unlock new stuff.
God
now,
damn.
You could just have the unlockable stuff be available for everyone to unlock anyway, but by limiting it to a timed battle pass, you're doing a few manipulative things. You're creating a fear of missing out, or FOMO. As players know, if they don't have this month's battle pass, they may never get the full experience or that rare cosmetic ever again. So you are
And honestly, I feel like this whole FOMO, to an extent, applies to the Mythic Plus dungeons in Warcraft right now. People are saying, oh, this is great. We get to do 4 old dungeons, Mythic Plus, and 4 new ones. This is fantastic. In my opinion, because Season 2, you're going to have completely 8 different ones. So if you don't play this season on these Mythic Pluses, you won't get them on the next season. And then Season 3 will be something completely different, so you might be missing out on other stuff. So in that regard, I don't know like how strong this incentive would be really, but I feel like a lot of people would want to try out Court of Stars and Halls of Valor again, or to see Jade Serpent or Shadowmoon Burial Grounds as a Mythic Plus, because they never experienced as a Mythic Plus, right? To new players this doesn't matter, but to old players this would matter, and like they would want to check it out. So that's like a free sub from them just to try them out. So that can also be another factor. Aside from it being a super lazy design, this could also be a factor.
An unhealthy amount of gameplay, because if you're not advancing your battle pass, you're losing precious time. So now you're actually discouraging players from enjoying any other game and forcing them to focus entirely on progression within yours. This design is of course at odds with the limit playtime technique, because they appeal to different demographics. Remember, a battle pass or limited time progression track doesn't always actively improve a game, but it does always increase that game's revenue, so throw it in the box. By now, even the concept of a fun, well-made game is starting to look like a horrifically augmented shadow of its former self. Imagine what a well-made game would look like if you tried to shoehorn in all of the techniques in this box. And unfortunately, eventually, you won't need to imagine. We're seeing it more and more. Later that same year, one of my favourite games comes out, Assassin's Creed Black Flag, a fantastic
heard it
pirate
was-
game. There's just one problem. Unless
Her
you
was
own
bad.
both a PlayStation and an Xbox and are willing to buy 2 copies of the game, you can never experience the full game. Black
Really?
Flag featured console-exclusive levels, which
Oh, that's
not
fucked
only
up.
fueled the petty console wars, but also highlighted the fact that marketing executives were now powerful enough to tell games developers exactly what their players deserved, or more importantly, what their non-players don't deserve. This is not player-focused design at
So
all.
dumb.
And while I completely understand the power of console exclusives, when I walked into a game shop and picked up 2 copies of Black Flag and realised no matter what I choose, there is a mission I won't get to play because I don't have
Yep.
the right console, that didn't leave a good taste in my mouth.
Oh,
So
no.
while Dota may have started the Battle Pass idea, it was almost perfected 4 years later in 2017 by Fortnite Season 2, which
Oh,
replaced
God.
the Season shop with a Battle Pass system. And then later in November of 2017, we witness a bit of
Battlefront.
gaming history, and it fills us all with a sense of pride and accomplishment. Star Wars Battlefront 2 was an amazing game which released back in 2005, not to be confused with Star Wars Battlefront 2, which was a mediocre game which released in 2017. It was a full-price game
Why
and
is
yet
it the same-
also had a loot box system in it along with premium
Oh,
currency
God.
system. This led to a Reddit user complaining that even though they'd bought the $80 deluxe version of the game, they still couldn't play as Darth Vader from day one. Unlocking Darth Vader means buying his hero crate, which costs 60,000 in-game credits. or you can
Jesus
spend real money.
Christ.
Now, you can earn an average of 250 credits per 10-minute match at the time.
And this is what I mean. Fucking taking advantage of your fans, bro. It's so scummy. And again, some people will spend it, yeah, but these people are the ones who are ruining it for everyone. Right? It's like, oh, I'm gonna flex my money. I can be Darth Vader. It's like, bro, it's a fucking video game, okay? Like, it's not that big of a deal. It's like, you're just making it better for the fucking corporates and you're making it worse for every other game, including yourself. You're gonna end up spending way more money on every fucking game you play from this point on because you were okay with paying this bullshit, right? WoW is gonna get worse and worse because you guys are okay with them doing fucking RNG bullshit on all of their loot and there's no deterministic way, you know? It's like, yeah, like, why is Dragonflight so much better than Shadowlands? Well, probably maybe because 75% of the player base left during Shadowlands, so like, well, maybe it's time to listen. Maybe this is why WoW is more listening now, and doing more interviews and increase their fucking staff. Because people just left. People had enough.
To grind for roughly 40 hours of constant gameplay, longer than the average completion time of most video games, to unlock a single
Jesus
rare
Christ.
character. Or you could pay crystals in the premium shop and spend those on hero crates and
Hell
just
yeah.
hunt. EA responded to this Reddit complaint saying the reason crates were so expensive or take so long to unlock is to give a sense of pride and accomplishment to players who did manage to unlock them.
That's
This
so
becomes
dumb.
the most downvoted comment in Reddit history. So, locking premium parts of your full-priced game
Wait,
behind
how-
either hours
how
of grind
many-
or spending even more money.
How many downvotes did it get? Oh, you can't see. Oh, okay, there you go. 667,652 downvotes. Oh my god, bro. Imagine a sense of pride just because you can spend money on loot crates.
But games having things locked within them is not necessarily bad design. One of
It's
my
actually like I saw the video now by Asmongold talking about people complaining that the Tyrael mount is back on the store, and it's like it reduces the pride they had in the mount because now everyone can get it. It's like, bro, everyone who played back then could also get it. It's like you got as a yearly pass that you paid normal yearly money for, and you got the mount for free. What pride do you have when you get a mount for fucking money? There's no pride in it.
My favourite games of all time is SSX Tricky, the snowboarding game. And as you play through that, you unlock new characters, new boards, and new tracks. Progression within a game, and rewarding that progression with new mechanics, new characters, and new areas is not bad. The problem was, progression wasn't the only way to unlock this. You could simply pay more money to get it immediately. And because
Yeah,
it was
that's
a
not fun.
competitive game, people who paid the extra money were at an advantage over those who did not.
And again, I'm going to relate this to World of Warcraft. I almost practically never buy anything off the auction house that gives me a power gain. I feel like I didn't earn it. I feel like it's cheap way to get stronger. I'd rather work for my gear, but obviously I would rather not work for my gear when the gear is so unfucking obtainable because of how Mythic Plus is designed and how raids are designed with the amount of loot that they give.
This is a video about how newer games feel wrong, and it feels wrong to buy the same game as someone else and to know that they will have an advantage over you if they pay more. Throw that in the box of abusive monetization.
Throw it in there. Yeah,
and
let's
then
go.
5 years later, Diablo
Immortal.
Now,
Oh,
I've already
buddy.
covered Diablo Immortal pretty extensively in the video The Diabolically Immoral Diablo Immortal and its follow-up about the legendary crests, because it took basically every idea from the big box of abusive monetization and sprinkled them liberally over a somewhat Diablo-looking game, including multiple premium currencies.
That's all it is, though. That's really what it was. It wasn't even that's what I'm saying. Like, in my opinion, Diablo 3 is not even a Diablo game. It just uses the Diablo name, but Diablo 3 doesn't feel like a Diablo game. Diablo Immortal doesn't feel like a Diablo game. It feels like a Diablo 3 game that doesn't feel like a Diablo game. Diablo 1, Diablo 2 had a completely different atmosphere and what they stood for. Diablo 4, in my opinion, is closer, but it feels like it's lacking in so many ways right now and doesn't feel as Diablo-esque. But we'll have to wait and see how the talents and the skills and the stats work. But yeah, Diablo 3 was not a Diablo game in my opinion. It would just use Diablo assets, Diablo names, Diablo, terminology, but it wasn't an actual Diablo game.
Deliberately similar in-game item which functions slightly differently to a paid version of the same thing, and multiple battle passes all called different things. But don't worry, because everyone assured me that Diablo Immortal was a mobile game, and thus would not be representative of the actual next Diablo game, which would be Diablo 4. Everyone told me Diablo 4 would be a full game by itself, with no cash shop, with gameplay first, and none of the strategies from the big box of badness. So of course there are various digital versions of the game, the more expensive ones giving you an accelerated battle pass bonus, allowing you to progress quicker, and there is a cosmetic cash shop using its own proprietary currency. And if you're thinking Diablo doesn't need all these extra bells and whistles to be a good Diablo game, you are correct. These have not been added because they make the game better, they've been added because they make the game money. And then Darktide released, which is a full price game with an abusively priced cash shop. Or you can grind for hours and hours and hours and hours and hours to get some of the cheap things in that shop. And now we're here. So why have games become like this? Simple, because games are businesses. Games have been businesses since...
Yep, corporate overlords took over. It's no longer a passion project. It's no longer something people just legit enjoy making and want people to play. It's not like, it's no longer art, Some people just drew for fun so people would admire their work. And some people were getting paid very handsomely to draw shit. Guess who had the better quality? Usually the ones who were passionate. And right now, I feel absolutely zero passion from the development in World of Warcraft for their game. I just see corporate greed in almost every fucking design that they make.
Arcades, since consoles allowed you to buy the game and have it in your own home. They have always wanted to make money. But up until now, the best way to make the most amount of money was to make the best game you possibly could because people would buy it, and that was it. The transaction was finished. It was fair. The best way to make money on modern games is to make the best framework as a...
And this is not true for every game developer. In my opinion, Elden Ring developers, even though, yes, they want to make money, their goal first and foremost is to make a good game. That's why there's no monetization in Elden Ring aside from buying the game.
Holder for these.
And they don't even pursue people who are modding the game. I haven't heard of anyone getting banned for using for modding Elden Ring.
Strategies. And companies have experimented with various methods to increase income over the years, from gacha loot boxes to pre-orders, console exclusives to battle passes, energy systems to just straight up selling power. And instead of hiring game designers, they hired psychologists to build habits, to reinforce addictive behaviors, to design gameplay loops which encourage spending. The problem was these techniques were never about the player having fun. They were about the user being monetized. And when a marketing executive pictures you playing
layers into
you aren't
payers,
pictured smiling and laughing with friends. You're pictured opening your wallet and reaching for your credit card, because that's their goal. And eventually, the Pandora's box of abusive monetization strategies was so full of proven, effective techniques that making a game is often no longer about the game, at least not for the people in charge of the money. The game is now simply a life support system for as many of these systems as you can design into it. The game is a host, and the parasite of monetization has begun to take over.
It's a nice metaphor.
The unfortunate reality is this works. Even with a breakout incredible success like Elden Ring, which won Game of the Year and sold over 18 million copies as...
Yeah, that's comparing the amount of money Elden Ring made. Did they make a profit? Yeah. But it's like, the problem is with these games, it's like, this is a one-time buy and that's it. You play the game. If the game didn't make the money from the copies, let's say it sold like only 25% of this, the game would not be successful. All the money they spent making it and all the time they spent would go to waste, and you would get a game that that you didn't make money off. But that being said, 25% of people who bought it, if there was monetization inside the game for cosmetics, people would probably buy, some of them would buy that, and the game would actually make more money and more profit. I am glad that Elden Ring didn't do that, but it doesn't beat the point that's like, this is still something that most companies would do, just because it's just so much more money. Imagine 18 million copies sold, and each one of them also spend an extra $5 in-game for cosmetics on average.
As of this video, at $60 a sale, that's over $1 billion in sales worldwide. That is still slightly shy of how much money Genshin Impact made this year. It is still shy of how much money FIFA Ultimate Team has made every year for the last 4 years. The reality is, when companies look at that pie chart of game development time and how they divide developer time or invested money,
the box is not enough.
Of abusive monetization strategies,
this box should be somewhere around here, at least half, if not like, 2/3, kind of like that. That's what the box is usually.
Pandora's box of terribleness is so effective, they would be hurting their own profit to not put at least some of the techniques in. The older designers simply didn't have the knowledge of this box, and even if they did, they didn't have the technology to act on it at the time. Modern design often puts the player into an awkward position where the game has spent more time focusing on the manipulative and abusive systems than it has on just being the best.
And it's the funniest thing, when Diablo Immortal was just being developed, before the game was ready, they already had monetization schemes being planned. So it's like the monetization came before the game. That's fucked up. Like, the game was designed, everything that was designed in Diablo Immortal was designed with the monetization already in mind. It wasn't like, we're going to design all of this and then see how we monetize. We're going to monetize this, let's see how we can develop it into it.
Game
it's fucked up.
Could be. So what is the exact choice which makes games feel wrong? Is it MapleStory's fault for adding Gachapon? Is it Oblivion's fault for the horse armor? Is it Dota's fault for the battle pass? FIFA's fault for the success of Ultimate Team?
I blame the people being okay with it, but at the same time, what are you gonna do? Some people just have too much money, nothing to do with it. Are you gonna put them in a different fucking server? Nothing can do about it. So yeah, I would definitely blame the companies for making it possible. But I would say the companies are like 97% at fault, the players are 3% at fault overall.
Is it Farmville's fault for mastering the addiction cycle? Or is it EA's fault for locking away Darth Vader? Unfortunately, it's kind of all of them. It's just the reality of games design today. You cannot close the lid on Pandora's box. Designers can't unknow the effectiveness of these techniques. And every game made for the rest of time has to either use them or actively choose to avoid them. So the exact choice that makes a game go from being the best it can possibly be to anti-player or anti-consumer is when a designer or a marketing executive stops thinking about how they can make the best game they're capable of and starts throwing some sly glances toward the box in the corner. And when they say, hey, this technique may not fit our game perfectly, but it's proven to make a lot of money. Do you think we could put it in our game? That is the moment any specific game goes downhill from what it could be from a player's perspective. And the worst part is that big evil box and all its dark design knowledge is constantly being added to. And when you play a new game and spot the cash shop and the battle pass and the premium currency and the awkward pack size and the loot boxes and the exclusive levels, and when you just feel sad, that the game didn't have to do that, that's when you know
I hate
that
that.
the pie chart of design of this game had at least a small slice dedicated to that stupid box. A small slice focused on making the game a little
The box
bit
can only go
anti-player
larger,
in the
never
name of a
smaller.
lot of profit. But personally, I also know it can be very cathartic to be angry at a thing instead of a concept. So let's all just collectively agree to blame the stupid horse. Cheers for watching. Another massive thank you to all the supporters on Patreon, Twitch and YouTube who keep the channel alive. You can support from only £1 a month. Check the description for links to the Patreon, Twitch, Twitter and our Discord. And as always,
You gotta move from there, man.
a great day.
Yeah. You'd never fight that horse.
Added to. And when you play a new game,
you never fight this guy from this side, from his right side. You always fight from the left. Always fight him from the shield side. Because he only has one attack from that side and it's extremely transparent. So if you always fight from that side, he can barely ever do damage to you. The only thing, well, sorry, two attacks. One is the horse bash and one is the, he has to like basically swing over. Like, you know, like scoop from that side. Super easy to dodge. That's for the first half HP. After that, he can also do like shield slams and stuff like that, but he can do that from both sides. But he can barely hit you with his axe, which does a shit ton of damage if you fight from that side. Either way, yeah. A good game. Good game. Good video as always by Josh Strife Hayes. I always thought FIFA was the first one, but apparently, yeah, I guess MapleStory really kind of started it. Or you can say that Morrowind, I think it was Morrowind, with the stupid ass horse. But yeah. Anyways, that's the video. Josh Strife Hayes pumping the good videos, the good fucking concepts. And honestly, moral of the stories, he didn't say anything groundbreaking. He didn't give a history lesson that we didn't hear before. There's the British guy who came out trans a few years ago. He made a great video. I forgot his name. I'm sorry, but like I just really forgot his name. He made a great video how players turn into payers. Basically covers all of this. There are a bunch of other videos that talk about the same subject. And again, in my opinion, there should be more and more videos like this, even though it's like this topic has been covered so many times. This needs to be reminded to players that this is happening so they can stop fucking shilling for these corporate overlords and all that shit. Anyways, yeah, that's the video. Thank you for watching and I'll see you in the next one.